defense.
And we're live, motherfuckers.
Yeah, dude. So
Let's go.
so I swear to God, man. So I watched Marvin Bagley play on the defensive end. There were times where, like, I've heard people, like, there's people that are just like, he has to start at center this year. Like, the Pistons, I'm telling you, they need Marvin Bagley to start.
I've seen that
dude,
too.
I'm like, have you watched that man play defense? The defense, it literally was like a wide open lane.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for not being a biased Detroit versus everybody.
No. Leo, I will tell you, dude, I am the biggest ride or die Pistons fan you'll ever meet. But Anthony will tell you, Jeff will tell you, I say it how it is with this team.
As we should.
100%, man. Just starting off strong, Marvin Bagley, man. But I'll let Anthony do his thing, man. So go ahead, bro.
I don't even know. Oh my God.
He's just like, hey, we're live, motherfuckers. Like, we're here now.
Oh no, we've been live for a minute, so all this is like fucking gold. It's getting clipped.
Oh heck yeah.
What is going on, you guys? Anthony here with Pistons Talk. I'm joined by three very special guests. We have the From Half Court guys. We got Sean and Jeff, and we got my guy Leo back on here. Leo, I can't wait for Marvin Bagley smoke as we kind of entered with. Man. We're going to talk about your Kings jumping the Pistons. We're pissed off about that.
That's crazy.
We're going to get into a bunch of
team no tanking, baby. We did a whole campaign around that, man. I told Anthony, don't be tanking, man.
He was right. He was right.
Had my white flag waving. I was like, motherfucker.
No, it's all good, man. But yeah, Marvin Bagley, man, thank you guys so much first and foremost for having me on. I'm super ecstatic, man. Anytime I get a chance to talk Pistons with a bunch of Pistons fans, man, it's a great time. I think both Rob and I, who was from Pennsylvania basketball, we did a rookie review of the year, and some Pistons fans weren't too happy with our grades with Cade. I gave him a B+, I think, and they were pretty fucking pissed. And I was like, hey, man. He didn't have the greatest start, and I'm the biggest Cade fan. So again, we'll get into all that. But if you guys want to talk about Bagley first, we can. Or if you want to talk about draft, I mean, whatever you want, Anthony.
I want to get into how you're feeling about the Kings getting that 4th overall pick. Like, what's the feel like right now?
So there's lots of excitement because some people think this is a top 3 draft, right? With Banchero, Chet and Jabari, but honestly, it's not last year's Hall of Fame draft where any of those, like, if you think about it, would Holmgren go first overall last year? No. Would he go second? Probably not. I don't think he's a better prospect than Evan Mobley, right? And Jabari, is he better than Scotty Barnes? Probably not. So this draft is good. It's good. I think there's a lot of versatility, right? From like 1 through 7, then there's a little bit of a drop off. Then there's like a nice value proposition for maybe from 18 to like 30 if you're doing the right job, which the Pistons have done, somewhat of a good job the past few years with some of their draft picks. Sadiq Bey being one of those guys who I love, by the way. A Keegan Murray is obviously an option for both the Pistons and the Kings, and that's a player that I can see fitting into that mold of like a Sadiq Bey, right? 3-and-D type of guy. Has length, 6'8". There aren't many 6'8" guys that grow, on trees. So anytime that you can get your hands on one of those guys, that's always a good thing. But in terms of Kings fans and like the King organization, they're ecstatic. I mean, they moved from 7 to 4. This has happened the last, I think, 2-3 years where the Raptors moved from 7 to 4. They got Scotty Barnes. A lot of people thought they'd get Jalen Suggs last year. I'm glad that they didn't, and they made the right choice. It was like, Raptor fans hated it, and I was like, you're going to love it. I had Scotty Barnes number 2 behind Cade. On my big board, people thought I was fucking crazy, but I guess not. So, yeah, I think Kings fans are excited. There's a lot of uncertainty in terms of who's going to be that guy if they trade, with the Pistons, which we're going to get into. If they move back to 7, if they move back to 6, there's a lot of speculation, man. The Kings have to make the playoffs. Yes, I said have to. You got to end this 16-year drought. And they want a player that can impact right now. But then you have the fans are like, well, we want a star. So, we'll take the 50-50 if we get like an Ivy or if we get like a, Sharp type of player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it really is interesting because, you talk about the Kings and the Pistons, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of things that overlap. And, when I'm just looking at this Kings, they do have the opportunity because, they could go get a dynamic guard like Shaden Sharp or even perhaps Jaden Ivey. You can go get a wing that can help this team win now. My question for you, Leo, just as someone that, has like been around the Kings and has like kind of just seen like their direction and like where they're going, like, and then the front office and like everything that they're doing. What the were they thinking getting rid of Tyrese Halliburton, brother? Dude, I still can't make sense of it. I called it one of the worst trades in the history of the league when I saw it happen, not against Domantas Sabonis, but guys, in my opinion, like a high impact player that wanted to be on the Sacramento Kings.
So let me ask you this. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So if Tyrese was on the Pacers and Sabonis was on the Kings and that exact trade happened, would the narrative have been the same? And this is an honest question. Nationally.
Nationally, it probably wouldn't have been as clowned on or made fun of.
Right.
But personally, just as far as like when you have a guy, just specifically when you have a guy that's that caliber of player that wants to be on that team and then to immediately trade, obviously that's not like the timeline of how it happened. There's reasons, and you want to build around De'Aaron Fox, and I understand that because he does have a lot of talent, and that's the contract you sign. That's a hard one to move.
Right.
But again, it's just, to me, Domantas Sabonis, a guy I still think he can be a really good player, but again, I just don't know.
You don't think Sabonis is a good player? That's just a question.
Well, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's going to be I don't ever think he's going to be a difference maker for this team in a playoff series. Do you think he's an all-star? I mean, he's all-star caliber, but I wouldn't like vote him to be an all-star every year. He's a guy that's like on the bubble of being an all-star every year, if that makes sense. Like if he goes out and has a great season, he can be an all-star, but it's not a guarantee. Right? So
so do you see that? And I'm asking this and then do you see that from Tyrese being an all-star in this league? In the East, where there's a Kay Cunningham, a Darius Garland, a Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, like this whole class to me is superior to Tyrese Halliburton. So when the trade happened, it seemed like ESPN, JJ Redick, bless his soul, and Kendrick Perkins and like all those guys, they acted like they got a two-time all-star. They acted like Tyrese was the second coming of Chris Paul, which no one talked about Tyrese like that before he got moved. So I think that's the hysterical perspective of all this whole shenanigans for a guy that was averaging 14 points. And there's a reason why there are averages. Yes, he had a great stint right before he got traded. And that's exactly what the Kings wanted to do because they sat down De'Aaron Fox. I'll never admit it. Pistons fans all about tanking and trying to highlight certain guys. That really did happen. He had a great stretch. And then he had a bad stretch with the Pacers too, where all the crickets started, I was like, okay, well, where are all my Tyrese lovers at? Like, he is that guy that shows inconsistencies all the way around. Like, he's not Cade Cunningham. Like, he's not Scotty Barnes. He's not Evan Mobley. He's not Jalen Green to me. Like, he's not on that tier of young players. And it just seems like from all the commotion, yourself included, it's like they traded away some fucking superstar for a bum. Like, that's really what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I do think his ceiling, I do think he can be an all-star. I do see the inconsistencies and stuff that you do see now, but like, I think some of that's just he's young, but I do think that I do think that the Kings ceiling going forward was higher around him than it would be going around De'Aaron Fox. But that's just my opinion.
That's interesting. I mean, I mean, I respect it, but like, what about Fox don't you like that you saw with him when they finally gave him a non-Marvin Bagley? Perfect segue, because Marvin Bagley was supposed to be Sabonis, right? Like that partner. Right. Some people think that's the reason why they passed on Luka, which I know for a fact it was because I spoke to Luka personally in the locker room. And so if you're going to, draft a guy number 2 and then be a complete bust and really never surround, the guy at the time. And now he's really the guy because now it's like you got no more excuses. You finally got your big man to play in the pick and roll with, a guy that's going to command double teams like a Sabonis. Yeah. So like that was supposed to be Marvin Bagley, and they just never came to fruition, whether that be skill level, injuries, dynamics of, relationships within the organization, coaching, whatever you want to, blame the excuses on. But that's how I see Fox, to where he's not blameless, right? Like a John Morant is a guy that changed the culture instantly, but they also gave him the keys right away. Like the Kings literally paid George Hill $19 million and fucking benched, and benched De'Aaron Fox, the number 5 pick, for George Hill. So it's like those things that I'm like, well, you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's just so many things. And firing Dave Yeager after he led him to 39 wins, to then hire Luke Walton, the biggest flop ever. So I really can't blame Fox for those things. And like when they say, well, Fox took a step backwards last year, a lot of it was because they shared the ball with and Tyrese is also very ineffective without the ball. So like they both need the ball in their hands to be that guy. And both Anthony and I talked about that going into the draft last year when it was between Hayes and Halliburton. Obviously a true point guard. And like, would you guys say that Hayes is a true point guard, or is he more like an off guard?
I'd say he's more like I'd say he's more like an off guard, in my opinion. Or at least if he's going to be the most successful in our system, he's going to be an off guard.
I feel like he's a true point guard. We're trying to use him as an off guard.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
So and those are the dynamics that the Kings had to make a decision on. It's like, okay, Fox has this huge contract. It's really hard to move because he hasn't played his best. But previous to this past year, he improved every single year. Last year, coming off a 25-7 season, and that's why they paid him the max. Every team would have paid him the max. I mean, that's just what the market was for a top 5 pick in the 2017 class. I mean, all those kids got paid that year. Donovan, Tatum, Bam, like all those dudes did. So it's not like, and those are the narratives that I'm talking about. It's like Fox fucking disappeared. Like Fox is not considered a young, up and coming player anymore because he had half a bad year. So it's just narratives, man. Like, Fox, for the most part, has had rough starts the last 3 years, and he just kicks it into a different gear. And some say it's way too late. I agree. I think there needs to be more sense of urgency, like more leadership, and that's one of the things that I criticize from him. But in terms of overall talent, like, dude,
the guy's an athletic freak.
Talented. He's so talented. Like he was averaging 28 points with Sabonis, like post trade.
Yeah. So what do you think, speaking of just kind of like where they're going now, and with that roster, they have Mike Brown that they brought in as a new head coach. I really thought Mark Jackson was going to get that role.
Me too.
In my opinion, that was where that's where I thought it was going to go. I thought Mike, and it's not that Mike Brown's like a bad hire in the sense that he's been around the Warriors culture for the past few years, a guy who's experienced, who's done this before and has won a lot of basketball games at points in his career. What do you think of the hire, and what do you think he can bring to this team that the Kings maybe didn't have before?
Well, and just to add to that real quick, what's with the Golden State assistants? All right, what's with the Golden State assistants? Please answer that question.
Man, I don't know, man. It just happens to be that way. But these last finalists, like, they weren't my favorites. I'll be honest. I like Mark, I like Mike, and I don't know about Steve Clifford, but I think they just threw his name in there. Like, he was never going to be an option. It was always between like Mark and between Mike. But I wanted like the like the Hams of the world, right? Like the next Ime Udoka, like that young coach. But I understand why it didn't happen, because the Kings don't have a good culture. They don't have a reputable establishment of winning. So I think what's going to end up happening if things go right is, a Mike Brown or a Mark Jackson can come here 3-4 years, start making the playoffs, get bounced in the first, potential second round. And then you hire your Steve Kerr, your Ime Udoka type guy. But first, you got to set that credibility. And that was a guy that knows how to win basketball games. And that's Mike Brown. Not my favorite, because his offenses are always, not the best, lots of stacked and stuff. But hopefully he's learning a little bit from Steve Kerr and that Warriors culture. But his defense is what he's known for, right? And accountability. Something that the Kings need. Accountability, a team that needs discipline, and that's what Mike Brown is known for. That's what Mark Jackson was known for. Obviously, Mark being a louder commodity league-wide. Some people think he's been blackmailed. I don't know what the truth is. The truth is somewhere in the middle. But I like the hire from that perspective. Like, if you want a vet-type coach that is actually a good coach, like I think of him much higher than the guy like Alvin Gentry. And I love Gentry as a person, but he hasn't always been, like the greatest of head coaches. And I said that. I was like, damn, like if he ever becomes Kings head coach, I'm just gonna turn on this team. I'm gonna be a Pistons fan. I said, so I was just like no, right? But I do like the move, and I think this team needs discipline and just a guy that can be held accountable. And it's again, Fox is ahead of the snake now. No more excuses. I can't sit here and do a 2-hour. Like I just did a 2.5-hour show, 25 under 25. Top players.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Cade
Robert
was at number 1, right?
Cade was at number like 10 or 9.
Okay.
But like to me, it's like I can't add some of these guys, some of these rookies before like a Shea or like before like these like established younger stars. I'm like, I get the idea of projecting players, but it's also such a big unknown. Like I just think these fucking lists are just silly. Like as a whole, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't put Cade over Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Like I can't. Robert did, and I'm like, I can't do it. He had Herbert Jones over Fox, and I'm like, I can't do that. Yeah. So it's just
okay.
One of
that
those
one's
things.
A little more.
Right.
Yeah,
right. So
because
it's
you never know how they're going to develop their game, because sometimes rookies, they come out like Stanley Johnson after his rookie year. He looked great, and he looked like he was going to be an awesome defensive guy for the Pistons for years to come. And then obviously that goes in the other direction. So I mean, to your point, it's like that can happen.
And then my other argument is, okay, for the guys that are 23, 24, like on the verge of not being on this 25 under list no more, it's like, are you telling me that those guys can't get any better? Like, are we only are we only projecting the kids that are 19, 20, 21? Like, that's where I find these lists just fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And obviously they do it for clicks. Obviously it's like the highest clicked article on ESPN every single year because it just riles up fans. And you're like, how did Cade not finish number 1? You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about Mike Brown and about all these damn lists, man.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you, man. Jeff, Anthony, you guys got anything?
I'll ask my question. If we want to stay on the draft, because listen, I got a player that I've been watching for a while, especially specifically now the last week. We got the 5th overall pick, but you guys are at 4, and we talk about it a lot. What you guys are going to do and what the Kings are possibly going to do. A guy like Shane Sharp, and I know he has a lot of question marks.
A lot.
And people always bring up the fact he didn't play in college. He practiced with the team, didn't play. Thank you. We'll get into it. Number 1, would you be, how do you feel about the Kings, and are they potentially looking seriously at a guy like Shane Sharp? And then number 2, how would you feel? Obviously, I kind of already know, but if Shane Sharp was a Sacramento King,
I would like it a lot. I just don't know, like, what is a direction, right? Like, truly, do you want to wait? Because honestly, like, it's nice to be, hopeful and wishful, like, oh, Sharp's gonna be the star of this draft. If that ever happens, it's going to be 3-4 years from now. Like, the Kings don't have that much time. So you got to take all those things into consideration when you make this selection. And to me, it's like, if the Pistons really want him, or if they really want Ivy, obviously the Kings will get the intel of like who they really like, unless it's like the 2018 class where the Mavericks are like, if you fucking say something, I'm going to fire you. And no one really knew that. They always wanted to move up to like top 3. And they kept that, and they did such a good job of not ever leaking that. So if the Kings find out who the Pistons want, and be like, okay, well, I'm taking Ivy, if y'all want him. So I'll be like, okay, well, let's trade for Grant, which I think the Pistons are going to move from him anyway. It's a risky deal, right? Like, if you give up someone like, I don't know, just say Rashawn Holmes, just to make, the money work. You swap picks, you swap players. You guys get a very starterist type player on a great deal at $12 million. And then the Kings get a huge risk of a guy walking next year, right? So it's just one of those deals where, what are you going to do? You got Ivy, you got Sharp, and you got Murray. It's between those 3 guys. Do you move back to 5? Do you move back to 6, which there's interest there as well from the Pacers? They might want Sharp, right, to go along with Duarte and with Halliburton. Or is it 7 where, Vince and I have proposed a Josh Hart, who again, one of those guys that no one ever fucking talks about because he hasn't really been on a winning team, but he's just
such
a
a
winning
good role
player. He's such a good role player. Like, oh my gosh. And he's on a $12 million deal. Like, that
well, how many guys around this league?
That.
Like, how many guys are there around this league that just are good basketball players that could go out and just, for like any team, could go on a playoff run and just play absolutely, amazing hoops. He's just one of those guys, or like you said, like even like Brandon Ingram, people don't really give him his shine to look at how great of a player he was too until the Pelicans are in the playoffs, are actually doing things. There's just, like you said, there's just so many
question
guys
for you guys, like Josh Hart, does he not start on the Bucks and make a big difference there over a guy like over Matthews?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, is that not a big difference there of like talent, skill? It's just crazy to me. And like, you need these, star role players. And I say that in a way where you have to accept your role. And that's one of the freaking hardest thing for NBA players, a la Marvin Bagley, cannot accept his role with the Kings. He was always told, I'm the number 2 pick. I'm the best player in the draft. His dad, I've told Anthony he's a LeVar Ball, but worse. The only difference is Detroit and Sacramento will never put a microphone in his face, so you'll never really hear that side of LeVar Ball. LA, they'll put microphones in his face, but not the best there, right? Great father, but not the best of influence. I feel like Marvin allows him to influence him way too much with the whole tweets and how he just created so much dysfunction in Sacramento. I get it. He wanted to get traded, but there are ways to go about it, right? Like a professional. So you have that, like those type of things where I look at a guy like Josh Hart who can impact winning now, who can help you elevate yourself, and really be like a floor raiser, right? So do you have those options? Like, do you call Detroit, Indiana, and Portland? Because the Kings jumped all of those teams. So they have the leverage. And it just comes down to if you really like Murray, who I think is the safest guy, just because I think he's ready to make an impact now. He's not the sexy pick. He's not like, oh my God, he could be the best player in this draft. But I tell you what, he's going to put up like 11 points a game, about 6 boards, and play really good damn defense.
Yeah.
And that's winning basketball.
Yeah, and I want to do a quick follow up to that too. I don't know if you've already came out with them already, but your player rankings. I know you're high. Obviously, we're talking about Keegan Murray, and that's a guy that can come in right away and contribute. Is that kind of where you're looking for the Kings to kind of target a player like that, ready to come in and play right away?
So my dream would be for you guys to accept the trade. You get Jeremy Grant, and then you draft Murray, and all of a sudden you go from having no wings, no 3-4s, no stretch bigs to go along with Sabonis, to having 2 of them, and having that depth. You're like, that's a hell of a season. That's a hell of an off season.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, obviously, I'm just so intrigued by the unknown of a Sharp because he does have a chance to be a star. And again, it just depends philosophically. Where are you as an organization? I think the Pistons makes more sense to go for Sharp because you guys aren't that urgent to win now, right?
Right.
And for the Kings, it's just a little bit different. Like, you hire a vet coach, you go and you get a 2-time All-Star, and you put him with, your hypothetical All-Star, and now you just got to build around those 2 foundational pieces. You finally have a direction. So that's where I'm like, do you wait and you develop this guy, or do you think that this guy is just going to come out guns blazing? Like, we don't know that, like nobody does.
Yeah. So speaking of Marvin Bagley, and kind of now that he's in Detroit, I'm kind of talking a little bit Pistons now too. He obviously came in and in a new role with less expectations, new team with Cade Cunningham, came in and played solid basketball down the stretch. Now, obviously, in my opinion, like a lot of Pistons fans, like I said at the beginning, they were way over the top and like, this guy has to start day 1 next year. I do not. Crazy. I in my opinion,
if he's your starter, you're winning maybe 25 games next year.
Yeah, in my opinion, he is like the perfect backup like wing that you bring up off your bench. That's like your backup big to get offense. But like do you think that the culture in Detroit, and do you think with Dwayne Casey, with Troy Weaver, with what they have established there, do you think Bagley can can turn his career around and have and still have some remnants of the career that he was hoping to have, or do you think he's kind of just destined to be a role player?
So before I answer that question, do you guys think Casey is a long-term fit at coach? I think that's going to matter of like how he develops.
Yeah. So the general, the thing that we kind of talk about a lot, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the general sense is Casey's here for the next couple of years, I would imagine. I don't think he's ever going to get fired, but I would imagine in the next couple of years, he's the second oldest coach in the league. I'd imagine he's going to be in the front office at some point.
Okay. It's interesting.
So, right. Yeah. So with Casey, I would say just because he came in and like he was told that this was a win now situation, and then obviously being part of the rebuild and helping, like, you know, being one of the voices to say, hey, this needs to happen, you know, like, and like with that kind of like loyalty there with Troy Weaver, like backing him as much as he has. And, you know, like even last year, like he called Casey the best coach in the world for this job or for this situation. Yeah. No, you didn't call him the best in the world. No. Don't worry. No.
Okay. No, that's Luke Walton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So do I think Bagley will be a role player or, you know, potentially reach 50% of the number 2 pick? I think he's closer to always going to be that role player. And it's going to come down to what we spoke about earlier is, can he accept his role? I feel like in his situation last year, he was kind of forced to accept his role. Not that he wanted to come off the bench. I'm sure he was like, I got to start from day one. Like, I'm better than Stewart. Like, I'm better. Like, that's the mentality, which is the right mentality to have if you're a competitor. I mean, we should all think that way, but also have some, like, common sense of, like, okay, I'm not going to start, and I got to do all the little things to win basketball games. And one thing that you noticed before, one thing that you brought up before we went live was the one thing that was his biggest weakness. Well, 1A, 1B is his defense, right? Like, it's really childish to the point where you're like, do you ever go into the film room? Like, do you ever understand, like, just basic fundamentals, basic, you know, certain things that tendencies that like guys
it's not athletic.
No, it's not. It's not
all mental awareness. It's all IQ, because there's just moments where he's at the top of the key or he's out towards the perimeter, and then there's guys just constantly getting cuts to the basket or getting from behind. It's like, dude,
that's the story, bro.
Do you not realize that the back door is a thing and that you got to keep it closed? Like, you can't just let these guys sneak through.
So this is what happens, right? So you put him out there, understand that, yes, he's going to get you buckets, albeit kind of forced and not in the most efficient way if you give him the ball. But if he's playing within the flow of the offense, which is pick and roll with Cade or pick and roll with Fox or Tyrese, then he looks a little bit better. Like, if he sits in the corner to like shoot those shots, he's fine. But it's when you give him the ball in isolation, he puts his head down. Guess what? He's not passing the fucking ball ever. No. So guys are like, let's go back, because he ain't gonna pass the damn ball. Like, he's not looking for the weak side cut. He's like, I'm gonna get a bucket. You know, the reincarnation of Zach Randolph without the footwork and like the actual skill. So I'm that guy. And again, I'm not trying to clown him, but that's what his game is. Like, bro, relax, play within the constraints of the offense. And it's just those little things, man, that just bug me about him. He's so talented, right? Like, I think the second jump was falsely advertised. I don't think it's as good as people say it is. I think there's a lot of better high flyers in the NBA.
I just think it was the fact that we had a guy who could get over the rim. It was the fact that it was the fact that we had a guy that could do that, because once we could, then Cade and Killian and a lot of our guards actually started utilizing, and that in the result just made it better. So, you know, that's why I'm like, you almost argue that if you throw anyone else in there that has more talent or more skill or more defensive, like, again, us fans, we build guys up to be something that they aren't. But like, if you just look at, you look at how cheap we're going to be able to bring him in this summer.
Yeah.
You're going to look at what, like, we don't have to commit money to him long term.
You don't.
But if he is here and if he develops, great. If not, all we gave up were 2 picks that weren't ours.
That's key.
Josh Jackson, who was just brought in just to fill a slot, and then one of the greatest centers of all time, Trey Lyles. But
the pump fake god,
yeah.
Trey Lyles.
The pump fake god, man.
Yeah.
He had one hell of a game, man. I was like, yeah, that's not happening ever again, and it never did.
Yep.
But to like Bagley's going back a little bit about his defense is like every time he has these breakdowns, guys, his teammates are like, what the fuck? And that really builds like a tough synergy to where there's no more trust there.
No.
And like always knowing that whoever he's guarding, you always got to rotate, and like you can't trust him to just stay in front of a guy. Yeah. And it's just understanding angles. It's just, bro,
his length. Yep, right.
Yeah.
Like learn how to use like your body. Like he's not unathletic. Yeah. He just has no awareness. Yeah. And honestly, you can learn those things if you put the work in. And he says he does. Yeah. But it's been 4 years.
Yeah, those are the things that separate the picks like Andrew Wiggins and Marvin Bagley from Luka Doncic and those top tier guys is, like, because you bring in guys like Bagley, who, again, all world type athlete, a freak style athlete that you can get at the top of the draft. That's why he was drafted. But again, if you don't put in the work, if you're not looking at film, because those are the things that stick out like glue. If you're not looking at film, is again, like, no one can doubt that he can pressure people that are driving into the lane. It's, can you recognize how to put yourself in position so you're not drawing a foul or getting them to the line or getting them an easy bucket in transition or in the back door. Like you said, it's
missing assignments.
Simple things.
Yeah.
Simple stuff.
So every time he gets beat, now Sadiq Bey has to step up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that'd be Jeremy Grant, and then they get scored on, and then the casual Pistons fans like, fuck, those guys don't play defense.
Yeah.
But what they missed was that the first guy, got blown by, and like that is a lot of what Rashawn Holmes have been suffering from in the Kings, because we got no perimeter defense for a long time, and he was still a top 10 shot blocker, and all that context matters, man, and it's just tough to like try to explain that to people. It's like all people see is the end result, but not the process, right? And that matters, especially when you're doing, film breakdowns and you want people to really tune in. But it's like all they want to do is like watch the Stephen A. Smith fucking yell, obscenities and like say a bunch of crazy things, and the NBA knowledge doesn't progress. It just stays with, well, this guy averaged, so Bagley averaged, 14 and like 10. And that's all Pistons fans say. It's like, no, there are the Josh Harts of the world who doesn't have great stats, right? Box score stats, but all the analytics and all the advanced metrics and the film, most importantly, out of any stat, shows that he is a winning player. And until we get to that point, it'll be impossible to argue that or convince the majority of Pistons fans that Bagley's not your starting center next year, which is fucking crazy to me.
And that's the thing. You have to, I've been reading Bill Simmons' book of basketball, and I've been talking about this chapter quite a bit, because literally chapter 2, he meets Isaiah Thomas in a topless pool and talks about like the ingredient, but like they talk about like the ingredients of winning, and he talks about how
all naked, huh?
Yeah. It was titillating, but anyway, but in all seriousness, like, the thing about it was he talks about how you look at you really look at like basketball is really the game that you need to watch, because if you're not, you're missing such a huge part of the story, because numbers can tell you that like, if you're looking at numbers, you could say, oh, well, this guy's one of the best guys in the game. But we all know that there's a difference between, say, Bradley Beal and Luka Doncic or Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like, there's just levels to this. So, everyone that, like, again, the stats looked great if you look at what Bagley was putting up as far as rebounds, as far as points. But again, like, there were just, if you're saying that this guy needs to start, like, again, like you said, it's like, look at what he did in the defensive end and tell.
How many points did he not give up? How many points did he score? How many points did he give up?
Yeah.
No one ever talks about that.
Side by side.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, no, I just, it's great to hear that perspective. Can I ask too, what's the biggest thing that, as Pistons fans, you bring up the Detroit versus everybody. We all have like everyone has misconceptions about your team, and it like bothers you to your core.
Yeah.
As a Kings fan, or as someone that's around the Kings,
right?
What's the biggest misconception about the Sacramento Kings that bothers the Kings fans like no other?
Well, I think every fan base can have the Detroit, Sacramento versus everybody. Like, you're always going to defend your team. It's kind of like being a Democrat or Republican. Like, they can do no wrong sometimes. Like, no matter what they do, they put you through 16 years of hell, and guess what? You still going to back them up. That's just part of being a fan, right?
But even then, there's still, but even then, there can just still be things that like people say, like people can say things about like misconceptions about like the bad boy Pistons or about like Isaiah Thomas or things like that. We could say, well, that's just not true, right? Like they're like, or like the way of like the inner workings of like the front office, like a big thing that's been an argument. Not to name names, cough, cough, easy at Woodward. Like we talk about Joe Dumars, was he a great GM? And like, a lot of people be like, what about this, this, and this? And it's like, well, there's differences. Yeah. Speaking of easy.
Speak easy. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Easy,
Speak
baby.
easy. What's up, though? Yeah, I would say, I guess like the national media will always intertwine like all of the GMs, right? Like there are certain things like certain draft picks, which I think every team can like go down their list and be like, well, I should have drafted Clay, or I should have drafted Damian Lillard, or I should have drafted X player. And then they're like, oh yeah, like Vlade Divac. Again, I'm not defending Vlade because I hate him for not drafting Luka, but they blame it all on Vlade,
right?
Because they think that he was working there since 2011, right? But he really got hired like in 2000. I don't know what it was, like 16 or something. So they'll blame the not drafting Lillard, not drafting Clay, not drafting Giannis. You're like, dude, those are different GMs. But in terms of some specific, I guess Vivek, man, like, well, it didn't help that he hired his daughter the other day to be the assistant GM of a G League.
And we were talking about that, dude.
And
that's
like,
crazy.
I went off. Like, those are like, I'm like, Vivek, I can't defend you after that. Like, that is just bull crap. Like, that's just an embarrassment. And you know, people want to let her off the hook, and I'm like, she's a grown ass woman. Like, she knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Like, you took the damn job. Like, you could have been like, no, Dad, it's not fair. It's bullshit. You're like, no, I'm gonna take the damn job and disrespect people who are actually working hard to one day try and just be an assistant GM.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was an embarrassment. But the whole like Vivek drafted Bagley, that was completely Vlade. Vlade, he actually gave Vlade a fair chance to fail or to succeed, which was the right thing to do. But Vivek will always take the blame for it because it's the easy thing to do, to blame him. But Vlade really, and it's crazy, guys, like Vlade really thought Bagley was a better prospect and that he really thought Bagley would be a better player. And, you know, I was told by Vivek's son when they went to go see Luka in the Final Four, like, that's our guy. But hey, man, like they gave Vlade in the front office their pick. And they really chose the wrong pick, but
the Kings were not alone though. By the way, though, let's not forget. Like, first of all, there's two other teams that passed on Luka Doncic, but on top of that, there was a lot of national discourse with a lot of doubt as far as what he could bring to the NBA level. So it wasn't just the Kings. Like, I want to give you guys credit in the sense that like Luka Doncic was a straight up miss by a lot of people because people
the
were
bad
afraid
teams
of him being
missed
European.
on him, right? Like the Mavericks are, besides, you know, like they're a very good organization. You know, they won a championship, but it was the Hawks, the Kings, and the Suns. And what do all those three teams have in common? The Hawks not so much because you know they've had success with like the 61 team with Joe Johnson and Al Horford, but
last couple years,
right. But other than that, though, I mean, they've been bad. And then the Suns and the Kings, we had a whole show on Bleacher Report, you know, like the Sun Kings, and they were the laughing stock forever. So I feel like the bad organizations didn't view Luka to be that guy, like you said, Sean. And then the good organizations that were drafting after, like, damn, what can we do to draft this guy? Like, he's the next so and so. I knew about Luka 2 years before he was Luka, like 16 years old. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this kid's gonna be so good, and everything indicated to go in that direction. And it was the worst, one of the worst days as a Kings fan ever, probably.
Mm-hmm.
The day before when I found out that Bagley would be the guy, because he fucking worked out for them, and because he again, to your point, Tyrese wanted to be there. I don't give a fuck if you want to be there or not. Are you good at basketball?
Yeah. So
Like, no more nice guys. Like, can you play?
Yeah.
Bagley
So-
wanted to be there too. And guess what?
yeah, I was in Detroit.
It's funny. Then he didn't want to be there because his dad was, let's get that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Can you hoop? Are you a hooper at the end of the day? That's all I care about, man. Like, so this whole Tyrese narrative, it's cute. But if you don't win games, bro, that shit gets old. Fox had the exact same thing. Players Tribune, I love Sacramento. Then he became the villain. They're like, we should have traded Fox. It's like, that's what fans will do, man. I mean, that's just what fans do.
Yeah.
Pistons fan know this.
Yeah.
I mean,
so when so last week I was in Detroit doing content stuff with Woodward, and I went to lunch with Terry Foster, who's one of the guys that works at Woodward. He used to cover the Bad Boys back in the day. And I was just asking him stories about the Pistons back in the day. And he told me that he had a tip before the draft by someone saying, don't draft Darko. Whatever you do, don't draft Darko. Like, he had this guy that he had this tip that, like, for whatever reason, his favorite thing to do was to just watch European basketball. So he was just familiar with the scene. And he was like, he literally told he told Terry, he was like, whatever you do, tell Joe Dumars to not draft Darko. He will amaze you in workouts, but otherwise he is not going to do anything in game. And he apparently told him at a meet or at a press conference or something. And obviously we know what happened, but
that's tough.
Yeah, man. So
how much better could the Pistons not have been if they would have just drafted
Carmelo.
Anybody, Melo or Dwayne,
D Wade, or even Chris Bosh.
Sheesh.
Oh.
Oof.
Yeah.
You trying to give me depression, Sean? Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I feel when people talk about Robert Horry hitting that shot in Game 4, or when Tim Donaghy was the lead guy for gambling on these games and fixing games. He didn't actually ref, but all the other guys were in it as well, and it's tough, man. It's depressing, but at least you guys won a championship.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what makes up for it, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah. For sure.
I did want to get back into the draft because I feel like we went between depressing Kings times to depressing Pistons times.
We got a bond on it, man. We got a bond on our stuff, man.
For sure. But Leo, I wanted to get your perspective. As a Pistons fan, which prospects should we be looking at 5?
Ivy for sure. I feel like the fact that he can play off ball, a guy like Hayes, who, as Anthony said it, and that's how I felt too coming to the show. It's like, I feel like you guys are trying to make him into an off guard when he should be like Cade's backup in our reality. Lead that second unit, play against lesser players. I know Anthony loved Corey Joseph at first, and I'm like, wait for it. Just wait a little bit longer, and then you'll know why Kings fans hated this guy. I'm sure you guys feel the same way.
Corey Joseph. We have some guys. Our guy, Everything King. He is we call him the biggest Corey Joseph fan on the face of the planet, and the reason why is because there's nothing that man hates more than watching Corey Joseph lace up the sneakers and play basketball.
And just dribble with his head down and go in circles, huh? You gotta love Corey Joseph, bro. Hey, I love the guy as a person.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Shout out to his wife, and he's about to have a kid just like me. I think they're both due at the same time.
All I hear is that he's the funniest human being. I hear he's literally the nicest.
He's such a great human being. And that's what I always made sure. I'm like, this is strictly basketball, okay? This is not me attacking the person, because the person is just top class, at least top 10 in the NBA, without question. Amazing dude, amazing community member. When we talking basketball, man, and shout out to his agent who got him another deal, right, with the Pistons, who like got him a $13 million deal with the Kings. It's just it's fascinating. Like his agent is an MVP for sure. So shout out to her, to the agent. But yeah, man, I feel like Ivy off the ball and Hayes off the bench, still on a rookie scale deal. You put Kate at point, you like run those two. Ivy's just a freaking monster. Like,
yeah,
very jaw, De'Aaron Fox, like somewhere in the middle. He's so explosive. He's just so aggressive. I love it. Obviously, he has limitations. He has weaknesses in this game, like every other prospect does. So that's a great option. You got Sharp, who again, at 6'5", 6'6", with the 7-foot wingspan. Don't have much tape on him in terms of like college stuff, but to me, it doesn't matter, right? People always talk about, oh well, Harry Giles was like the best high school. I'm like, yeah, Harry Giles would have been a fucking great player if it wasn't for his 3 ACL injuries.
That's it.
Like,
he had a set of knees.
Yeah, like before he was 19, he had 2 MCLs, I think, and 1 ACL. What do you think's gonna happen, man? Like, it had nothing to do with talent or skill. Like, the guy was the most talented, the most skilled, but he just couldn't put it together no more. And like that happened. So when people say, "Oh, well, he didn't play college ball," I don't care. Like, he doesn't need to play college ball. Like, he's NBA ready right now in terms of a prospect. Like, we're grading these guys as prospects, man. And when you talk about Sharp with the intangibles of being 6'6", with 7-foot wingspan, just a freak athletically, super smooth, can create his own shot. We don't know if he plays defense or not because we haven't watched him, but he has all the intangibles and like the potential to like be that guy. To like guard up and like guard threes. And man, like he is a guy that's just going with talent, and he's just the biggest question mark, man. But that's a guy that I would look at. And then like Keegan Murray is without question another guy, especially if you trade Grant, not to the Kings, but to someone else. Like, that's a nice option. Again, you can never have too much of those guys. Grant and Murray would be amazing together, I think, with like Cade Cunningham, again, surrounding him with 3-and-D guys. Who else? I don't know. I would say, like those three.
I know Benedict Matherin's one that's there's people in the Pistons.
He's a dark horse.
Yeah,
he's a dark horse.
For me, I've said I like Benedict Mathurin. However, I would wager if the Pistons like have a pick later in the lottery, I would wager that he'd be available then. Not
where
saying
though,
that he's bad.
like what's realistic for you? Like 12,
like 7.
Yeah.
If we trade with Portland, because
if we trade with Portland, like realistically, but like I think he could fall. I think he would go realistically anywhere around like 10 to 12. Like I think he could go. I think he could go that far down. So like realistically, I think he'd be available. But I mean, and that's not saying he's not a good player. Again, that's just where I think the order is going right now.
Yeah, for sure. Top 10 pick. You got AJ, right? You got AJ Griffin there. Lots of potential. I mean, oh man, it's like this draft has a lot of the same similar type players, like like Jabari, Keegan Murray, Paolo, all 6'8", 6'10" guys who can do a lot of similar things. Some differences there, right? Where we don't know if Banchero will be a good defender. Some people think he will. Some people think he won't. But he's extremely smooth, high basketball
IQ. It depends on where he goes. I feel like
that matters.
I feel like going to Houston, I've talked about, like, I don't know if I trust Paolo Banchero to care as much on the defensive end if he has Steven Silas in his ear as much as if he has Dwayne Casey in his ear. Like, that's just a different locker room he's walking into. It just is. So
would you guys want Banchero?
Well, I mean, if Paolo falls to us, if he's at 5, or if he's in our lap, if we're in a situation where we can get any of those,
if you had a top 3 pick, like if Jabari and Chet, would you draft him at 3?
If you're saying if Chet and Jabari went 1 and 2, yeah,
I would.
I would take him.
It actually kind of segues into my next question.
If he had number 2, would you draft him there?
I'm a Jabari Smith guy. So if Jabari's off the board, honestly, I might even go Chet at that point. But still, Paulo's F3. I gotta go.
In my opinion, Paolo. If I had my big board, Paolo would rank 3rd on my big board. But I mean, I can certainly see the upside. I could see the scenario where he could be the number one guy in this draft. Like as far as like if he puts it together on the defensive end,
he's taking over games, man.
Yeah, offensively, he's just such a complete like prospect as far as his playmaking goes. But again, like my other question too, like I just, I look at like in the with the Pistons, we've had issues in the past with stars like Andre. Like I love Andre Drummond. Like there were some great times with Andre in Detroit, but there were times where you wondered how on fire, how ready to go he was going to be on a night to night basis. With Paolo, I wonder, because before March he didn't really have many standout games. He had moments where it's like, man, he looked great, but like there was never a Duke game that you turned on. It was like, you got to see Paolo play now, until the tournament, at least to me.
Okay.
So,
what about you?
What about you? Yeah, what do you think?
About Powell? I mean, he's so tricky. Like I really like him offensively, but again, question marks defensively. But at the end of the day, like if you have a guy that can self-create, not like Bagley, right? Like, because like people have told me, well, he could be like Bagley, a bust. I'm like, first of all, this guy can go right and left, spin on you, and actually dunk on you. Has a mid-range shot, has everything in his toolbox in terms of being an offensive player. Now, the question mark is like, will he be a star in the game? And I think that's where the two-way potential comes in. But in terms of offensively, like at worst, he's going to be a dude that gets you buckets off the bench. Obviously, you don't want to say that for a top 3 pick, but
you're saying at worst.
He's still a serviceable NBA player that can do a lot for you. And I see him averaging, 18 to 25. It just depends on, like you said, Sean, where is he going? Like, what culture is he going to? But for you guys, obviously Jabari would be amazing. I think Chet would be amazing just because I don't want Bagley to start and you can start winning some games. But I don't know if you guys want to win some games. So I know Anthony's like, I don't want to win games.
Yeah. So looking at this free agency class.
So like, who do you want next year, Anthony?
Want that French kid, bro. He's a monster.
How many more French kids do we need in Detroit, brother? Come on now.
Leo, we're going to Paris next year, man. I need an all-world tour. I need Killian Hayes.
That's crazy.
Give Sacred Boy a 10-day contract. See what Evan Fournier is doing.
This is where we're at as Pistons fans. We're already talking about the next year's draft.
I can see that.
No, it's just me. Other Pistons fans think we're making like a 6th seed. It's just me.
There's other Pistons fans that are convinced that Cade's going to make it to the finals.
Who's those Pistons fans?
Please. And enlighten me.
You know
with Marvin Bagley at center?
Hell yeah. MVP Marvin Bagley.
But Killian at point guard too. He's a great offensive player. He could be like James Harden, guys.
I feel like if you guys address those needs and you bring Marvin and Killian off the bench, now we're talking about a potential 9 seed, right?
Yeah.
But you got to address those things first.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did have this question because I keep seeing like reports that Houston might trade out of the pick. I don't know if that's true or not, but
are they really?
Is there a chance out of the top 3? Who do you think would be available? Like out of Chet, Jabari, or Paolo? Who do you think would slip
to number 4?
Yeah, like around that 4 or 5 range.
And it comes back down to what Jeff said about Sharp. Like, how much of an unknown is he, and like how much do GMs believe that he really could be the best player in this draft? And if that's the case, I think Paolo drops to 4. And now, if you're the Kings, you're like, well, shoot. Now I have more leverage. Like, if they're not in love with him, because he may not be the best fit next to Sabonis just because of his defensive question marks.
Yeah.
To me, it's more of a Murray and like a Jabari Smith. That would be
shooting too.
Right. So it's like, okay, at that point, how bad do the Pistons want him? Or how bad do Portland want him? And that's where you have more leverage, because or the Kings can be like, I'm taking the best player available, period. And I'll just roll with it. And Monty is known to take the best player available, whether you got 5 point guards or not. Like, I'm taking the best player available. And I respect that. Like, I'd be the same way. Like, I'm taking the best guy on my board. Like, if you truly think that. So I think he's the guy that drops. I think it's a lock between Jabari and Chet to go 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. I think Chet at 1 just makes a lot of sense as well, just for Orlando. Like if you're looking at like a home run style pick, and I'm glad because listen, man, I love Chet Holmgren. If we were in the position to get him,
So you're taking number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he was available at 1,
Anthony don't like him.
No.
Hey,
listen, I'm the only one here that likes him. It feels like I feel like I'm the only
no.
one.
What do you mean? I like him. I
like him. Yeah,
I just don't like him at 1. I mean, you say you're gonna
really.
You're gonna be the best player in 2 months. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, it's a competitor. You got to feel that way about yourself. I mean, it's not true. You're going to get your ass kicked in Orlando for your rookie year, but
Jalen Duren stuffed his ass multiple times when they went up against that point. He said get in the weight room.
He said that he's the best player in 2 months.
They said who's going to be the best player? Who's the best player in the NBA? He's like,
he said me in 2 months. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know. I don't like cocky guys like that, to be honest with you, because it's 9 times out of 10 it doesn't pan out.
So you don't like Jalen Green?
Hell no.
Yeah, you're asking the city.
Pistons fans when Jalen Green was asked, because they were like, what did you learn your rookie year? I'm a bucket. That came out around the same time when Cade was like, I'm talking about boxing out and getting it down to teammate. So we had a field day with that one. So
Cade's blowing bubbles with his daughter. Jalen Green's throwing stacks with James Harden in the freaking club. They're not the same dude. They're not cut from the same cloth.
But guys, he dunked with an NFT on his neck. He's cool.
Hey man,
I like him, but I love
Jalen Green.
I
think
like
he's
his swagger. I'm just joking.
It's his swagger. But I love Cade's swagger too. I just think it's a great class, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I really do. And Scotty is just the infectious personality that, is always smiling, picks up from fucking full court, is guarding your point guard. And that's what I talked about in my draft evaluations. You can't really teach these type of things. This kid has it, and everyone wanted to talk about coming off the bench. But I'm like, dude, every freshman coming off the bench at Florida State, first and foremost. And they talked about his rebounding. I'm like, well, shit, how can you rebound when you're guarding the damn point guard 90 feet? It's really hard to grab boards when you're away from the basket, And he was fine in the NBA, you know what I'm saying? So, and then the whole shooting thing. Yeah. So the whole shooting thing, I'm like, okay, well, that could be a question mark, but what are the Raptors known for? Developing guys who are shaky shooters and just shooters, right? OG, Siakam, they've become respectable 3-point shooters. That is a culture that is well established, that he went to the right situation. If he goes to Orlando, I still think he's good, but not as good just because it's a shit situation there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, give him respect. I think every team is trying to get out of the hole, and it's going to take them a few years. But, drafting Chet number 1, and, they have Franz now, and, Suggs wasn't the best offensively. He's actually one of the worst analytical offensive years in NBA history, but his defense was really good though. So,
bro, I saw him live. It was Cade's first game.
Yeah, I was there too. I was there too.
I swear, Jalen Suggs. I was like, dude, how is this guy with a lottery pick?
Really?
He couldn't even hit the rim. They just subbed out Cole Anthony and RJ Hampton. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, he looked. He
did
not look good. His first. It's
so nuts because at Summer League, I was there in Vegas, and I was like, he's such a game changer. His leadership is fiery. He had big time shots, big time blocks, big time. I'm like, man, this guy is just a freaking competitor. And Evan Mobley, I was like, this guy is fucking soft. I was like, he's Bagley, but with better defense.
Dude, well, people were convinced Cade was a bust after Summer League too. That's the crazy thing. Summer League can paint because I don't know about you.
Bro.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I remember Pistons players. So I'm sure there's Kings players you remember that went crazy in the Summer League. For me, there's no player. Henry Ellenson looked like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the Summer League. I don't know what it is, but when that man pulled up to the Orlando Magic practice facility, he had ice in his veins and he was ready to go at a different element. That man was
hysterically
insane in the
funny.
summer league.
Pistons
That's
fans
funny.
were calling him the second coming to Kevin Love. I swear.
And now he's the best player at a barbecue. Like
Yeah.
He doesn't even play basketball anymore. Like that's
crazy.
That's
But
tough.
yeah, man, I think that's what Pistons fans and like Kings fans, right? It's just like I think we as fans get way too excited for a guy that has young potential. You know, you just got to temper those things. I tell people the story about Mobley. I'm like, he was getting fucking demolished by Şengün in summer league. And Şengün's a hell of a player. I love Şengün. Like I had Şengün 7 on my big board, and I still think he's gonna be really good. But some strange reason, it just like this little flip, just bam for like Mobley, and I don't know if it was like being around better players and maybe he was just trying to get his footing in summer league, but he was getting pushed around by everybody, and I'm like, that's what concerned me, his weight, and that's what a lot of people are scared about Chet. But when you truly think about it, it's like, dude, length can cover up a lot of those things, man.
Well, I think also having Jared Allen too in the post, like not having to be like the primary guy to bang down low, that's a big thing too.
Evan Mobley was running pick and rolls. I mean, the guy like this is what I imagine Chet to do as well. Like he has that.
You think so?
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
I don't think he's as good though.
I mean, maybe not right away. I mean, Evan Mobley, I think you can do similar things. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
He just maybe not asked of that at Gonzaga, but I think he has it.
I think he's going to struggle. I think Chet's offensive game is going to be where he's going to struggle the most as far as like I think he's a better playmaker than people give him credit. He can pass the ball and actually handle the ball decently from the perimeter. I think it's going to be how is he going to create separation? Because like at least like, you know, like even like Cade, for example, he doesn't create separation with his athleticism. He does it with his body, with his IQ. But like with Chet, like how are you going to create separation with that body? You know what I mean? Like it's just going to be hard to do. So it's going to be interesting to see how his offensive game translates day one.
And that's why I love Orlando as a fit, because you're walking into a situation where you're not going to be asked as much of that. He can make an effect on the game and still give up, 12, 15 points. Like that's why I love it for him.
Facts.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm just replying to this troll in the chat real quick because he's got a boner for freaking Ayton. Like, I was just like, bro, like if you do not get along with Monty Williams.
Okay, I want to ask Leo this.
That tells me all you need to know. Like the fact that he wanted Monty Williams fired, that tells me a lot about Ayton's character as a person.
Well, I know a lot about Ayton myself because, I'm good friends with Buddy Hield. I've been to the Bahamas, flew out with them. And I'm going to tell you what, Ayton is like, Buddy is a god in the Bahamas because he really is for the people. Like he's a people's champ over there. He's the type of guy that will take a picture with a million people and he will never say no. Like he's trying to inspire. I mean, this kid grew up in the Bahamas. Ayton is more Americanized, didn't go through the struggles. So he's not beloved by his people the same way Buddy is. And that's all I heard about him. You know what I mean? I was just like, in a way, he's a little bit selfish. And, I didn't know about him wanting this guy fired, but that's crazy to me. So
we hear the video game rumors too. Like I like the intangibles of who he is as a player, but like when you hear like the video game rumors and then the wanting the Monty Williams fight, there is stuff about his character that does make me pause and go, do you want to hand him a max contract?
I don't want to give him a max contract, but do I think that he'd be a good fit with the Pistons? Absolutely. Without question, but at a max, it's same with a guy like Miles Bridges, right? Where I'm like, he'd be the perfect fit with Sabonis, but at a max contract, that really restricts your franchise for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't want to compare him to Andre Drummond, but it kind of reminds me like when we gave him all that money.
That's true.
It's just point. Like I look at the teams.
That's a great point.
How do you not look at that though? Yeah. That's so like that, like that. That's where our franchise was tied down to a big man.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd be like a number one option here. But like, at the same time, I look at Troy Weaver and like I don't think he's like a Troy guy. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he's not a guy that like Troy's not bringing in any knuckleheads. Like he's not bringing in guys that are distractions. I just feel like he'd be a distraction in Detroit because it's not Phoenix. Like you come here, you're hooping. You're not, going out to the clubs or whatever. I mean,
I think the one thing that I think could help with being here. I mean, first of all, I think with everything in Phoenix, we don't really know like what's going on behind the scenes. There's
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but there's still the investigation on the Robert Sarver stuff there, right? Is that investigation still happening? I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm sure.
So,
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I read about it, but I don't know if it's still going on or not.
Yeah, but I would think I would think, like with whatever is out there about him, I would imagine being in a situation like just like as far as fit goes, you look at what Detroit has, and I think what they're building, what not a lot of teams have, which is they do have a culture and they have been able to bring in guys who have been at lows in their careers and have been able to turn that around or done or seen them grow and do things. So as far as you look at like what would you pay him? I mean, that's the tough thing. Detroit has some flexibility going forward, but at the same time, we have a lot of young players that are going to have money coming up too.
So give me two realistic options. Maybe not this year, but the following year that is like a big time name that you think will go to Detroit. Because I was laughing with Anthony when he's super confident that y'all will splash like a big time player. And I'm like, name me that player.
Yeah, well, that's the fair thing because that is the argument to make because you do because that is the thing. What other chance are you going to have to bring in a guy who was drafted at number 1 overall? Like, say what you will about like what his career's been so far, but like Ayton was drafted at the top overall pick for a reason, right? I mean,
y'all gonna have number 1 and number 2. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Number 1 and number 2.
Backup center against starting center.
Just bring them all to Detroit, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone that was drafted above Luka, bring them all to Detroit. Let's go. Screw it. Except Trae Young.
Okay, so y'all think Aiden is realistic. Who's the second name?
Oh, no, in this draft class?
No, just like
who's realistic to come to Detroit?
Free agent.
Like free agent.
In general. I mean, I looked at next year. I mean, you have Bradley Beal who's signing an extension probably in Washington. I mean,
whatever happens with Lillard, I don't see him going, let's go Detroit.
No, how I see the Pistons doing it, and obviously I don't have a player off the top of my head, but kind of how New Orleans traded for CJ McCollum mid-season. Like, that's when I don't mind if the Pistons, this is your first time having money, wait, go through the season, and if a player like that's available that you can just plug and play, or whoever it is, doesn't have to be a guard, but you get the point, anybody that's available.
So
that's what I don't mind doing.
Via trade, right?
That could happen as well. Yes. I'm not counting on it, but that's why I don't mind if they spend, not too much money. Don't blow it on Miles Bridges or Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? I don't mind.
Oh my God. If y'all get Jalen Brunson, I'd be pissed off.
I'll be sick.
He's a good player, man, but not at like $25 million.
Oh.
Thank you. We got a Jalen Brunson stand in the building.
Yes.
No, I actually like him, but I'm like, damn.
Yeah, you can watch him.
Yeah, I like him at $20 million a year, but I'm with you. Once you get up to like 25
I like him
plus.
like at 15.
Thank you. Sean has been
now
preaching.
we're talking, Leo.
No, all I've been saying. Listen, Leo. I'm just a voice of reason, and I like to because some of these people, I'm not going to name any names, but some of these people are hating on Chet. Are hating on Jalen Brunson, these guys, for their physical limitations.
That's true.
And ignoring what they could actually do on the basketball court and everything they could bring. Say what you will about Jalen Brunson, obviously.
He's
you're saying his market is $20 million, right, Sean?
Yeah, because that's about what Fred VanVleet's getting paid right now, about $20 million.
That's fair.
A year.
Unfortunately, that's why I would stay away because you're right, Sean. Like, he's probably going to get paid $20 million, which is fucking ridiculous to me.
At least.
But like that's his market though. Like that's what it is.
It is.
And I think it's because he's the best. Besides I guess Zach LaVine, but you know where Zach's going. I mean, let's be honest. Besides Zach LaVine, he's really Portland. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Oh, that's
I saw Atlanta on Twitter today. I saw someone say Zach LaVine likes Atlanta.
That'd be a good fit. I would like that a lot. But with Jalen Brunson, he's the best, really unrestricted free agent guard. So I feel like he's going to get a big overpay. I mean, teams are going to watch what he's doing in the postseason. They're going to throw 25. I think 20 is the minimum. I think he's going to get some team is going to throw a bag at him, dude. I'm telling you. Watch the Knicks or somebody.
Watch the Pistons be that, and then we come back and we're like, what the fuck just happened?
What the? is going on?
If that happens, I will be forced to probably buy a Brunson jersey so Sean can just gloat for the next 4 years because we're paying this bum like $100 million.
The most undersized.
And you guys know how it is too. Like guys want to get paid. He's looking at Fred, and he's like, I'm gonna get paid more than Fred. I mean, that's how he's thinking. So he wants to reset the market. So let a team do that besides the Pistons, please.
Oh man.
Please.
So Brunson, Aiden, Miles. Is there like a sleeper pick that you guys are thinking about?
I like Victor Oladipo, but that's just me.
Everyone likes him though, like because everyone know it's like a prove it year, right?
I think it's like little rotational pieces. Like I like, if it depends what they do in the draft, but I'm just talking off the top of my head. Like if you look in this class, there's some guys you can bring in. I mean, you mentioned like a Josh Hart type of player you bring in and they can be serviceable. Yeah. But in terms of this draft free agency, it's top heavy. And not in a good way, in my opinion. Like it's really not.
I mean, if you don't go with Ayton, like there's certainly other names there. Like I know Thomas Bryant's out there. I know Mitchell Robinson's out there. I know Mo Bamba's out there. I'm not.
How you feel about Mo Bamba?
I mean, I like Mo. I mean, it's certainly like
I like the song.
If you're gonna ask me Ayton or Bamba, I'd rather go with Ayton. I mean, at a certain point, like
would you rather go Ayton at max, or would you rather go Bamba at 11 mil per year?
Bamba at 11 million.
Okay.
You can get out. You can get out of that deal. You can get out of that deal if you have to.
Yeah, my one thing though is like I like the reclamation projects, but at a certain point you need a surefire thing.
100%.
And also if and again, I'm thinking too, when you're looking in the Eastern Conference, what are the teams we're going to be facing for years to come? Giannis and the Bucks. Kevin Durant's still a factor for now. The Celtics, exactly. Like having a good big man is going to be essential to beat these teams. And like you're not going to have the chance to get many other guys in Ayton on the market. You're just not.
So are you guys done with the whole Stewart situation there or what?
Well, I've been an advocate for liking Stewart as well. I don't think he's your answer as like your starting center just from rim protecting
100%.
But from his switchability defensively, he could be he could be a stud off the bench.
And if we could spread the floor, he's going to be even more valuable because he's gotten better on the perimeter. And if you just add a jump shot, which he's done quite a few times towards the end of the year, I like Isaiah Stewart, but not as a starting big. I've seen people put him as a starting center. I'm like, are you joking me? I mean, I love Isaiah. He's scrappy, but
see that's the problem. We have so much money tied up in Kelly Olynyk, which I never understood that signing to begin with.
Yeah,
I thought Mason Plumlee was fine because you were in a rebuild anyways. But I mean,
I thought it was just because at the very least, Olynyk at least had that perimeter threat that Plumlee didn't have. Like you bring him in and at the very least he's stretching forward with Cade and with Kelly.
He's a good player. It's just
but not for you guys.
Not for 13 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like a contender move. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I need like more, space. I need like a center that can get me buckets. Like, to me, like Kelly Olynyk would be like perfect on the Warriors or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
we need a shot blocker, man. Like that's the reality. Yeah. That's really the reality.
Like, to be honest, I'm just kind of looking at the list for like centers. I would not hate Nurkic from Portland.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hate it. I mean,
he's just so iffy with injuries, though, right?
Yeah,
that's
availability is the best ability.
After LeBron put him in a body bag, he was never the same.
Well, we got Isaiah Stewart, so that's not happening again.
That's actually a nice pickup, though. Like Nurk on the Pistons, pick and roll with Cade and yeah.
He can pass too. I mean, he's a really underrated
passer. Very good passer.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot to like there, without a doubt.
What about you for the Kings, though? Like, what's a free agent that you look at that is like a possibility?
Oladipo. I think if they don't go Sharp or Ivy, then I'm looking at Oladipo. I'm willing to pay him whatever he wants for 1 year, whether that be 12, 15. And I know I'm going to get off the contract the following year anyway, so I don't really care. Like, I'm always a guy, the GM's going to be like, I'll pay you $100 million. It's going for 1 year, though. Like, your contract's coming off the books, right? Obviously, that's being overzealous and just like proving the point. But I'm willing to pay him 12, 15 for a year because his market's going to be 8 to 10 probably. And in Sacramento, you just have to overpay. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. Right. Plus California. in taxes and stuff like that. So 12 to 15 for 1 year. It's a prove it year. If he can stay healthy, because if he can stay healthy, he's a real good player, right? I mean, we've all seen it. We're seeing it right now in the playoffs. I love the Martin twins. Obviously, I went to Nevada. I graduated the year they came in, so I didn't get to cover them, but they're just winning basketball players again. Those role players just know what the fuck they're doing. They're gonna do all the little things, play defense, get you a dunk, cut off weak sides, set good screens. Those are the Martin twins. So someone like that adds depth to your bench, right? 3-and-D type of guys. And again, like I really want Grant on the Kings. I think he'd be a great fit next to Sabonis. Like I really do, because he's a good weak side shot blocker.
Yep.
And he can stretch the floor to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, definitely can.
So one of the questions I had was would you guys probably involve that 4th pick for Grant?
If you swap the 5th, probably.
We'd probably have to eat Holmes's contract on top of that.
But I don't think you guys are eating that, because now you actually get like your starting center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would like Holmes.
Like Holmes and like Stewart, you know what I mean? Like, and then I guess
that's a front court. That's definitely a front court tandem to build around.
Like your 4 coming off the bench, but you put Cade with Holmes, and like you put guys like Sadiq Bey and comparable 3-and-D guys, you're gonna get the best version of Holmes, because he's, regardless of how bad the Kings were, he's still a top 10 shot blocker, man. I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, he's
like,
really underrated.
Like the Kings are freaking awful defensively. Like he's still a top 10 shot blocker. Like, and then he led the NBA in football percentage, because he has like that little push shot that he always makes. And this last year, after he got paid, he just had a really tough year, man. He had COVID. He had the domestic dispute with his wife about his kid. He got his eye poked out, which that was the biggest thing out of all those things. It was like he just couldn't see, and he had to wear goggles, and he just had a really rough year, man. And I think he's actually a good fit next to Sabonis, but Gentry didn't want to play it, and obviously he coming from COVID and not being in the lineup, those things didn't help. But I wouldn't be mad if they actually keep him. I mean, he's on a $12 million deal. Like, that's pretty good for a starting caliber center. So I'm not mad at it. But he's also an asset that you can use, right? So I like Grant, man, and I feel like it'd be a win-win for like both teams.
Yeah.
You don't think it would be a conflict with Harrison Barnes and Jeremy Grant?
I think that's what you want, right? I mean, it's just like Bay and Grant.
Yeah, you can't have too many guys that
the more wings,
the more 6'8" guys
and defend, the better.
Yeah. I got killed on Twitter because it's like, is it really that big of a difference between Jeremy Grant and Harrison Barnes?
No, it's not. Jeremy Grant, but like I want an extra Harrison Barnes.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you really can't have too many good wings on your team. In the
just
NBA
look at the Celtics. Just the Raptors. Like, especially the Raptors. Like those guys have a bunch of like 6'9" with 7'4" wingspans. They're freaks.
The way that like positionless basketball they were playing in that opening round against Philly, it looked terrifying for a bit. It was only for like a couple games. People forget, like before, like it was like 3-0 at one point, and everyone was like, "Oh well, Philly's got this." They look so dominant, and then like after 2 games, it was like Philly was seeing ghosts, and people were convinced that Toronto was going to win the series just because that positionless lineup just terrifying.
And because Doc Rivers was head coach.
Oh yeah,
that too.
Don't just slide under that.
Just imagine if like Toronto actually had like a starting like caliber center that was just a little bit switchable. Like just say Rashawn Holmes as opposed to fucking Birch. You'd be like, what?
Exactly, man. They
honestly like they needed DeMarcus Cousins this year. That would have been like crazy. I just want it for entertainment purposes with Embiid and Cousins, just for all the smoke, because I know they fight.
That'd be funny, man. How what's the weather like in Detroit right now?
Like 70.
70?
Yeah,
that's nice. We're here. We finally hit 100 today, and it's like I have all my dogs inside the house. It's like they're all outdoor dogs, and you're just like, fuck.
Damn.
Yeah.
Holy.
But then when it's snowing like hell, I kind of wish I was, a little nicer.
That's tough.
There, so
That's
you get
tough.
both. You get the best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to see what the Kings do going forward. The one thing, do you think Jaden Ivey's at play at all there for them? Because I'm looking, you make the decision to move Halliburton. Obviously, I think you made actually, like what we talked about that earlier. I think you actually made a lot of really good points.
Yeah.
And I think you highlighted a lot of things people don't talk about. But do you think, as far as like you're looking at like the Kings, obviously, like you said, they want to be in the playoffs now. Do you think Ivey would almost, I know he can play off the ball, and it's a big misconception that he can't.
Yep.
But do you think him and Fox would be a good fit together in the backcourt? Because that's the thing. I don't know if they would.
I don't know either, man. And it's just, again, it goes back to like, you want an impact player now. I think he can make an impact, but he might need the ball in his hands. He might not. Like, it's just such a huge question mark. Can he play off the ball? Without question. Is he your starting shooting guard next to Fox next year? That's the real question if you draft him. Or do you start Davion, which, again, he's a beast defensively, but and like he fucking killed it in the last 15 games.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like a lot of players kill it in their last 15 games, and we see it every year. So is his shooting real? Is the question, because with Fox, like, you need shooters around him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ivy isn't that yet.
Right.
He has potential to be that, but it's scary, man. But his potential is just going, right? Like, if he does work out, you have two freaks that are just the fastest players in the game.
Yeah. I mean, you guys would be a transition nightmare, honestly.
Oh.
I would not want to play the Kings if you had Ivy and Fox.
A track meet, right?
I got things.
Yeah, y'all would certainly be the 2K favorite. I mean, I would play you guys. I would play as you guys all the time. You kidding me?
So yeah, so out of Ivy, Sharp, and Murray, who would you guys pick?
If I'm the GM of the Kings
or the Pistons?
Oh, the Pistons. In my opinion, if Jaden Ivey's on the board at 5 for the Pistons, I'm taking Jaden Ivey.
Okay.
I like Keegan Murray. I like Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe, I'm way more hesitant on because I know there's a lot of upside. Or at least I'm told there's a lot of upside.
Yeah.
I'm just more weary. Like, guys can come out of high school. Absolutely they can.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's just so little information and footage out on this guy now that I just, I can't say comfortably that's my number one guy. But I did see a good amount of Ivy this year. And even though I don't expect John Morant, anyone that mentions him in the same sentence.
Yeah.
I just think, it's just it's a slippery slope. But in my opinion, you can get a really solid guy next to Cade who can initiate offense on a team that really needs guys who can initiate offense. So it might not be a perfect fit, but in my opinion, I see the road of that working out well in the future. So
I agree.
Yeah. I think there's actually more options than those three, honestly.
I think there are two.
I think you could add AJ Griffin to that mix at 5. I would not be surprised by that. I told you guys.
Are
that.
you so you're the GM? Who are you picking?
I would probably play it safe and go Keegan Murray.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be like, if Sharp bust, Troy Weaver's head will be on a platter.
Yeah.
And I know Murray can come in right away and contribute. I know that he's not going to need the ball in his hands like, half the time. I have questions about Sharp. I have questions about if Ivy can play off the ball. But like, I would probably just play it safe. And I know fans probably don't want to hear that, but like, I think he's like you were talking about Josh Hart. I think he could be a high level role player. I think he could be like a Tobias Harris for the Pistons, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tobias, Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Like those types of players, right?
Yeah, and you need those types of guys on a championship team.
I mean, another Sadiq Bey. I mean, that's not a problem. Like that's a real good thing.
Yeah. I just think, in my opinion, the upside of someone like Ivy, like I think he can still come. In my opinion, I think he can still come in and contribute. I think
100%.
I think Keegan Murray's like the most likely to be a solid NBA player of anyone in this draft. But if you're asking me who's the most likely to be an all-star, but also still have a good floor, I think Ivy's like that good balance of like risk and reward.
Honestly, I think Ivy could be the best player in the draft, honestly.
I think
It
so too.
can.
It's
Yeah.
just a situation thing. Like
Mhm.
it depends where he goes. I mean, like he could slip. He could be like right there for like the Pacers. Like you never
Yeah.
know. Like
And I think for him, like not having to be the number one option and to be alongside Cade, but also have those options where you could stagger their minutes and have lineups or Ivy's running the show. Like you can have situations where Cade doesn't
Yeah.
need to do all the work. I think there's a lot of value. I know people look at Dame and CJ McCollum and automatically think that having two guards in your backcourt you're building around
But
doesn't
both
work.
of those guys were elite shooters, though.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, stylistically it's just different. So
Yeah.
I think any of these guys you can throw in with Cade and they're gonna come in and do well. It's just in my opinion, I think Ivy just has a lot of upside and boom to him. So
I think the problem is people like fans want like instant success. Like these guys have flaws.
Yep.
And they're just nitpicking every little thing, like the narrative that Ivy can't play with Cade because they both
crazy.
need the ball in their hands. I just don't understand it. Like,
but Shaden Sharp, that's not a problem. Like that's my thing. Like if you're gonna say
Yeah.
that about Ivy, why aren't you saying that about Sharp? If you aren't like that's the thing. Like we're all guessing at the end of the day.
Because they view Ivy more of a point guard and they view Sharp more as a 2-3.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think Ivy's best trait is playing off the ball, honestly. Like he could play off the ball and just kind of like take like that Victor Oladipo role. He definitely could do it, and I wouldn't be mad at it.
I like the Oladipo role though, where his knees don't go through what Oladipo's knees went through.
All right,
so
Jeff.
Maybe not that.
Who you got, man?
Oh, see, this is where it gets spicy because I'm going with Shaden Sharp, and I could give a rat's ass, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Detroit Pistons fan.
Yep.
I don't want to be in this position again.
Right.
I need a home run. I'm striking out. I'm swinging at every single pitch.
Okay.
And I see a guy in Shaden Sharp who I think, and I wouldn't be mad with any of these three guys, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, or Shaden Sharp. I think Jaden Ivey, he's right behind Sharp for me. If they take Jaden Ivey, I'm ecstatic. I'm happy.
Yeah.
But with Sharp, I see in my head, when I imagine a backcourt with Cade Cunningham, I see a guy next to him that's an elite shot maker. A guy that says, give me the ball and let me go get a bucket. And then Cade can kind of still operate. You have Killian who can have the ball in his hands, create offense, all that stuff. But with Shaden Sharp, I always say this. Who are you when your shot's not falling? And Shaden Sharp's giving me 6'6", 7-foot wingspan and a 49-inch unofficial vertical.
Yeah.
I like those intangible, like those tools right there. Dwayne Casey can coach them up. I'm patient. I don't need to win this year. I can wait 2 years. I mean, at this point, if I'm going to get the player that could be the best player in this draft, I'm good with it. And another thing, we talk about Cade Cunningham a lot, and listen, he's clearly going to be a great player, but I imagine him in a role in years down the line when this team is contending. Hopefully, he doesn't have to be your number one leading scorer. I think he can be your number two leading scorer, but have the most impact on your basketball team.
Right.
Shaden Sharp is a guy, and Jaden Ivey, I would put in this as well. They can be your leading scorers. So that's what I'm looking for in this draft. And I think just Shaden Sharp's game, I get it. It's risky. He took the year off of not playing his freshman year. But again, I just don't see it. I think if he played this year, there'd be no questions. He'd be a top 5 pick. I just think if that's your only nitpick, I'm cool with it. But again, I get it. Troy Weaver's not going to put his job on the line for Shaden Sharp. I could see why he wouldn't do it. But if I'm the GM, that's your question. I'm swinging. I'm swinging.
My thing is because I the thing I respect about whenever you and I talk about it together, Jeff, because you and I talk about it on the channel quite a bit. The difference is you acknowledge that there's risk. You acknowledge that there's unknowns and there are things. Because the difference is that we all have to acknowledge if you're going to go in and have a conversation with Sharp, even if you like him, before we have the conversation, you have to acknowledge, now I know he's the unknown. I know we have way less on him than every other prospect. And that's the thing you have to enter the conversation with. Because again, I know, and I've watched a good amount of his AAU footage or things like that. But people will send me oh, look at this guy. He's the real deal. But it's gym footage shot on an iPhone from Instagram. Ridiculous. And it's guys, that's handpicked from his staff, from his age. How that works, right? That footage is curated and put together for a reason. So I'm not saying he's all hype. But again, if we're going to have the conversation about him, we have to also, on the equal side, acknowledge that piece of it too. And that's why I'm okay with Jeff, like I said, you acknowledge that. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
But there is a handful, like I said. I mean, Keegan Murray, if he's taken, I'm fine with it. If you guys pass on him for whatever reason and the Pistons select him, I'm cool with it. I just think with Shade and Sharp, and listen, I didn't say, by the way, I saw the comment in the chat. I didn't say he's an elite shot maker because we haven't seen it at the collegiate level, but I think he can be. I think there's definitely his jumper looks smooth. He's got all the physical tools. Obviously, he can move laterally. I mean, he's crazy athletic. So I can imagine a scene in my head, if I just close my eyes, of Cade Cunningham throwing lobs to Jaden Sharp and him just posterizing people. Same with Jaden Ivey. I think
he can be Jalen Green, like and that's a good thing.
Yeah, if the Jalen Green comparison holds true, a backcourt of a Jalen Green type with Cade, forget about it, man. Forget about it.
Yeah,
and that's what you want. So like you said, like if I was a Pistons GM, I would also swing at everything and like go Sharp.
Yeah.
Because we've been bad. Like the last couple of years. What? Okay, I'm gonna settle.
And then Bagley gonna be a starter. Then for sure drafting Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's just
it
depends like where your mindset is. Just like, do you think this rebuild's gonna last 2 more years, or do you think that they're really gonna push for it? You think they're just gonna go out and get a Jalen Brunson and try to get Miles Bridges or DeAndre Ayton? Like I don't know. Like it's just. I don't know how Troy's going to operate because he's never had this much money before. I don't know if he's just going to.
How much money?
Okay, right now it's like around 20-ish, but like if they cut salary, it's like around 30.
Yeah, so we have about next season we have about 85 million tied into next year, and I think the salary is at 122. So I think technically we're at about 30-something $1 million opening up, and then it's down to 47 the next year. But then again, that's when Sadiq's probably going to need an extension. That's when we have to re-sign some of our guys. But for now, especially if we move Jeremy too, that's even more flexible.
It opens up a lot of cap,
Yeah.
So if you trade Jeremy for say Holmes, right, and they swap picks, then you save about 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I want to say this too, just on the take of prospects. I think the next month is going to dwindle these guys down. I think the interview process with Troy Weaver, that's going to be the determining factor because that matters. I mean, Keegan Murray coming out with the quote he did, talking about guys after they get out of college, they lose that, that dog they get better consistently. Like that stuff matters. And I think, whether, Troy views Shaden Sharp as, he's not the hardest worker. He doesn't have that dog in him. That's what's going to, and if that's the case, I'm good with it. But just watching these guys on film strictly, I can't turn off the Shaden Sharp tape. I've watched all these guys, but he's the most exciting.
Right.
Well, to quote Dwayne Casey, we want to make sure he makes his bed every morning. I swear, bro. He's like last year. He's just like, "Hey, Cade Cunningham, do you make your bed every morning?" He's like,
dude. The funniest thing about that was when Cade had that Oklahoma State vlog thing. Like, hey, we're gonna follow Cade today. People were like, "Did he make his bed?" Like they were like, people were watching. Yeah. They were like, he better have made his bed. Like, please God. But oh my gosh. Yeah. The nice thing though, and I think the reason why us Pistons fans are feeling as good as we do, not just because we have Cade, but also, I mean, Leo, Troy Weaver, the thing we've seen about him. I mean, you know what it's like to not have stability in the front office. You've seen that in the King, Troy Weaver truly just has been a breath of fresh air. And I think he's someone that we could look at over the next few years. And I think he'll be in the conversation as one of the best executives in the league.
There you go. That's
I think, I think he's just his eye for talent and everything they've got going. I just, in my opinion, just how much things have been turned around when a couple years ago, our best young talent was Luke Kennard and Svi Mikhailuk. I think
Imagine, Sean, you can go back in time and just plant. And I love Joe Dumars. I appreciate everything he's done for the city of Detroit.
Great.
Imagine just having Troy Weaver in that draft room because he recruited Carmelo Anthony and just whispering to Joe, do it. Take Carmelo Anthony. But now we have Troy Weaver now. So a little too late. He knows how to identify talent in the draft specifically. I don't know what he's going to be able to do in free agency. He hasn't really made any big moves to be like, he knows what he's doing. But still, I think Jeremy Grant was a great signing. So he's been doing good, man. Eye for talent. That's all you can ask for a team that is constantly rebuilding as of late. You need to identify talent. Please do that. That's big time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Well, you guys, we've been on for like an hour and a half. And
Yep.
Yeah.
it's absolutely crazy. I think
Yeah,
we
Leo,
talked-
you're the man, dude.
Leo, this was a blast, dude. I'd love to
Yeah,
have you
sure.
on again. And dude,
I
you
got my
are
dog trying to fucking.
Yo, what kind of dog you got?
So the one inside here is a 4-month-old Doberman.
okay.
Let me show you guys.
Oh,
Damn.
What a beautiful
Hi.
dog.
Hey.
that's adorable. It's 100 degrees out. That's funny as hell.
Yeah, that's the Doberman. I got an Australian cattle dog in the living room and the cattle dog husky.
Oh man.
It's a fucking mess because it's 100 degrees here and they really can't be out. They're outdoor dogs, but it's hard to control them. That's why he's in here, and I think my wife's in the. I can hear them like being fucking chaotic, but he's Bolt just grabbed my Kyle Lowry special edition shoes, and he's ripping them up. So he's being a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are a beauty, man. I definitely get those out of your dog's mouth.
Yeah,
He's so casual, just like I'm cool with it.
it's the ones right there. It's like red with the Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like it's all good, man. But hey, man, guys, thank you guys so much. Let me know anytime. Love talking Pistons. Kept my eye on you guys, obviously because of Cade. And yeah, man, it's gonna be a good year for you guys. And I would say the following year, I think it's gonna depend on what you guys do this year. Honestly, like if you swing for the fences and you get sharp and he pans out, holy shit! Like this team's gonna be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited. I obviously as someone that watches the league, as fun as it, as much as we can clown or joke on the Kings, because everyone can do that. I do hope
that. I do that.
Yeah, I do. In all seriousness, I do want to see him turn it around. Like if we're looking at, if you don't know, I'm known for my auto tune drops, and
Really?
people, I have some sound effects. I can.
Almost some.
Jeff Afraid he hates Jaden Ivey. Confirmed. I have some side effects. I have some sound effects ready to go. I can.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, we bombed. Like,
Yeah,
we got some
sick.
stuff
That's
back here.
sick.
Yeah, we got some stuff. So
Hey, just gloss over that like it was nothing.
What are you
was that?
talking
Jeff
about,
Jeff radiates J Navi, man. Delete that.
What you do? Isn't that known fact?
Yeah, but apparently, apparently, Leo, according to my coworker, Easy, I don't like Jay Navi because all I said was he needs a ball in his hands, and then he took that clip and put it in his social media video talking about
damn trolls. Easy, man. Be better, Easy.
He clickbaited me, man.
Our own
Come
network.
on,
I got
Our
taught a
own
lesson.
network.
I got taught a lesson.
I'm
learning.
man.
That's media.
It's all
right,
good.
that's media. Get clickbaited.
But Leo,
All
this
right,
is
guys.
awesome, man.
Yeah, appreciate you,
Thank
Leo,
so
man.
much.
Seriously.
Well, I
Give it up your
appreciate you
time.
guys, man. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Later, man.
All right.
Yep.
Peace.